Hey there, and welcome. We live in a world with more options than ever. I mean, think about it. What to watch, what to eat, what to wear. We're always told that this is freedom. But here's a thought. What if all this choice is actually making us less happy and, way more stressed? Today, we're going to dive right into the paradox of choice. You know that feeling, right? You've spent like 20 minutes scrolling through Netflix and you just end up giving up and watching nothing at all. Or maybe you've stared at a restaurant menu with a million items and felt completely and totally overwhelmed. Yep, if that sounds familiar, you've experienced that paralysis of choice firsthand. It's a very real thing, and it's called choice overload. I mean, to see just how wild this has gotten, all you have to do is walk into a typical supermarket. We're not just talking about a few choices here. We're talking about 285 varieties of cookies, 175 different salad dressings, and over 30,000 different items in a single store. Wow. The simple act of grocery shopping has become this gauntlet of endless decisions. So, that feeling, that sense of being completely frozen by too many options, it actually has a name: analysis paralysis. It's that point where the sheer number of possibilities just becomes so overwhelming that you end up making no decision at all. The fear of making the wrong choice literally paralyzes you. Okay, so how do we actually know this is a real thing? Well, let's take a look at a classic study that just perfectly shows how more choice can actually hurt our ability to make a decision. So, researchers set up two tasting booths for jam. Now, at first, what they found seems pretty obvious. The booth with 24 different varieties, it attracted more shoppers. About 60% of people passing by stopped to take a look. The smaller display with only 6 jams only got about 40% of people to stop. So, more choice is better, right? Well, hold on a second. Because when it came time to actually buy something, the results completely flipped. Of all the people who stopped at that big, flashy display, only 3% actually bought a jar of jam. But at the small display, a whopping 30% of shoppers made a purchase. I mean, that is a massive difference. Think about that. People were literally 10 times more likely to buy when they had fewer, more manageable options. The big, attractive display, in the end, just led to inaction. So what is going on here? Why does this happen? Well, the answer really lies in our psychology. It turns out we all approach decisions a little differently, and we usually fall into one of two camps. We're either maximizers or we're satisficers. Think of maximizers as the perfectionists. They need to be absolutely certain they're making the best possible choice. They'll research every single option. Then you have satisficers. They have a set of criteria in their head, and as soon as they find an option that's good enough to meet those needs, they pick it and move on. Now, maximizing isn't always a bad thing. For a huge life decision, that deep research can really pay off. But for most of our everyday choices, it's pretty much a recipe for stress. And this goes way deeper than just feeling stressed while you're shopping. Research consistently shows that always trying to find the best takes a real psychological toll. Maximizers, on average, report being less happy, less optimistic, and way more prone to depression and regret than satisficers. And this all feeds directly into this really powerful emotion, regret. Because even after we finally do make a choice, the sheer number of other options we turn down can come back to haunt us. Okay, so think about it this way. Every time you choose something, you're also choosing not to have a bunch of other things. Economists call this opportunity cost. So when you pick one pair of jeans, you're giving up the potential good things about the 50 other pairs you didn't buy. And with more options, the weight of all those missed opportunities just gets heavier and heavier. The psychologist who really pioneered all this research, Barry Schwartz, he put it perfectly. We don't judge our choice in a vacuum. We judge it against all the things we gave up. And every little attractive feature on an option we rejected can feel like a small loss, kind of subtracting from how happy we are with what we actually chose. And this leads to another trap. When you have 300 types of cereal to choose from, you don't just expect to find a good cereal, your brain starts to think you can find the perfect cereal. This just raises our expectations to an impossibly high level. And when our choice, inevitably falls short of perfection, we feel disappointed, even if it's actually perfectly good. And what does all of this lead to? That horrible feeling we all know, buyer's remorse. The more options you rejected, the easier it is for your brain to imagine that one of them might have been better. This just leads to second guessing and this nagging feeling that you might have made a mistake, which completely undermines your enjoyment of the thing you actually picked. Okay, so this sounds kind of bleak, right? If more choice is the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, the good news is we are not helpless here. Let's talk about some clear, real strategies to escape this trap and start making choices that actually lead to more satisfaction. Really, the key to all of this is making a conscious shift in your mindset. So instead of that endless search, try to satisfies a bit more. Just accept good enough. And maybe the most important one is to learn to see constraints not as a restriction, but as a form of freedom. A shorter menu or a curated list isn't limiting you, it's liberating you from the burden of choice. You know, there's this old saying, often credited to Voltaire, that I think just perfectly captures this whole issue. Perfect is the enemy of good. Man, does that hit the nail on the head here? The relentless hunt for the absolute best thing often stops us from just enjoying something that is perfectly good. It's a powerful reminder. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. We've always been taught that freedom is about having as many options as possible. But maybe true freedom isn't about having an infinite sea of choices. Maybe it's about having the wisdom to choose our own constraints. Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.